should add that I should have started with by saying this podcast will be a stream of consciousness. I will try to be as analytical as possible, but I am 100% sure I'll be quite emotional because London is a place of great emotion for me. I have always, over the years, loved London because of the complexity of the city, from a sociological perspective, geopolitically, the diversity and the interaction between people of varying identities literally energizes me. I've always been quite moved and felt quite honored with the kindness that Londoners have shown me. I have a really bad sense of direction. I love one of the greatest, literally it's an oxymoron, is that I'm an international traveler and I love it, and I don't have a sense of direction. And Londoners, in general, around the world, the places in which I've traveled, I've not had problems. But in particular, Londoners have always gone above and beyond to make sure I got from point A to point B safely. And I've always been touched because people need to take time to explain things to me. I don't have a sense of I have no spatial awareness. It's very limited. And I literally don't know right from left. So people have to point and use buildings and monuments to direct me from point A to point B. I've always been touched and enriched by the zest for life and the zest for human connection that we all have. But I think despite outward appearances, it just sort of sits on the top of London. I really believe that. It is a joy to... I love talking with people. When I was here before, for many years, I interviewed people as part of my activism. And I just love to talk to people. I love to hear people's journey and their story and how they understand their experiences. So I think I should say I love to hear people's stories and lives, and I like to, for however much time they give me, to share their journey. And that's the way I look at it. They're sharing their life's journey, just a wee bit of it with me. And that's an honor when people do that. So when they do that, then you have to go above and beyond to understand what they're saying to you, to pay respect. That's the way, in my opinion, to show respect, is to bear witness to their journey and how they conceptualize it, even if you differ, but to bear witness to it respectfully by hearing it. Saturday, I got turned around in Trafalgar Square, and in front of the cafe in the crypt was a man of African descent with his passing out leaflets and with his beautifully ornate robe on. Like, it was just really beautiful, blue with all sorts of white. Sorry, the gown was white. The overcoat was white with all this blue sparkly bits on it. He was working, passing out leaflets, and I got turned around, and I couldn't figure out how to get to the tube was just there. But anyway, he held me by the arm, and he said very softly, he pointed the direction, told me which way to go. And that was significant because he was working. That was his job. He took time from his job. My needs took time from his job. And that never ceased to enrich me. Is when I did say, I couldn't promise not to get emotional. experience the people's humanity while they're simultaneously and acknowledging it while they're simultaneously doing the same for you is one of the most amazing experiences. I'm a person of faith, and to me, how we connect, and when we connect in civil and caring ways, Allah is the divine. That is God. And for me, I always say, and most of the people I know here in the UK are atheists. I always say that I've always said London was the most religious place I'd ever been, because it's all this engagement of humanity. And for me, that is the divine. When we acknowledge self, our own humanity, and when we can see the humanity in others. So from the street vendors to, I've had homeless people help me. Oh boy. They have stepped away from asking for money for their sustenance to help me. I've had police officers who, God knows, they're already overwhelmed, and the last thing they need is this old lady asking them to point them in the direction of the tube, but they do it with great civility. To the young lad that holds the tube lift door open for me and steps aside, although he might lose his place in these crowded elephant and castle lifts that take you down, or in this case we were going down to the tube. Ah, dear. To the black young lad that was on the train, and I was eavesdropping. He was talking about. He looked like he was in his 20s, and he was talking about a young woman that he fancied, and he was telling his friend on his mobile device, yeah, you know who she is. I think you're also Facebook friends with her. And he was talking about how much he cared for her, and I started smiling, and you would have thought he would have said, why are you eavesdropping? But instead he smiled back. And he was very, my words, chic and forward in fashion. And I found myself just all caught up in his end of the conversation. And when he saw it, instead of being offended or saying the obvious, mind your own business, lady, he smiled that I was smiling, because he was talking about this young lady that he was quite enamored with. So the perpetual sharing, and when I first got to the place I was staying, B&B was in a new neighborhood for me. I had never been to that neighborhood, at least I don't think so. That's also a possibility that I've been there before, but my sense of direction is very bad. And I went into a shop owned by, well, I should say it was, I think it is owned by Muslims, and it was a young Muslim boy in there who was working, and I asked him for help, and I told him that I was lost, and he took out his mobile phone, and he found the directions, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know left from right. So he literally did the things you can do with Google and showed me pictures of the street, and he said, this is what you're going to look for, and when you get it here, then you walk toward this, and keep walking toward this, and then he showed me a picture of the B&B. He asked me for the address, and I was really reticent, but I was lost, and he assured me it would be fine. And he said, that's where you're going. So anyway, that was on a Thursday. Friday morning, when I was walking back to the tube station, I thought to myself, I need to pop my head in there to say hello. And before I experience of the pain and the separation, all manner of identities from the British government. And fear for a multitude of reasons. But the overriding sentiment was a lot of pain. Now, it may have come out in blistering anger, but there was pain. This tremendous pain where these private citizens felt separated from the government. They wanted to be closer. They wanted to be heard. It was messy sometimes how people communicated. It wasn't always politically correct. God knows I know that. But I never stopped bearing witness to people's humanity. So I'm back in the UK, and among other things, I found out MI5 is not out to get me. That's for the book, but that's a relief. I'm not being flippant. I'm not being flippant. I don't say that in jest. Okay. So I'm moving ahead with the work I want to do here in this country, of understanding how civilians experience their security, and look at that with the ways in which the state constructs what's safety, what's a threat. That's so fascinating how that interacts and intersects. And one of the ways that intersects is the way organically, autonomously emerging activism, civil society responds to national security modeling, right? And how they respond to whatever threats challenge the space they call country, city, society. So I want to look at that. I'm hoping to make another trip to London this coming Friday to do some field work. And if I do, where appropriate, I'll talk about it. But right now, it took 2 conversations. It took the immigration, because I was surprised they let me in the country, and 2 conversations. But right now, I'm looking at the future and trying to discover ways that I can again be of service that fit with who I am, to be of service to this country, and to do it publicly and transparently, and it's the best. I am also looking at ways to do some activism across, I'm not sure what ocean, I don't know, but between myself and hopefully other British-based activists and Israeli-based activists, and I would love to do some work with some Israeli Jewish Zionists. I would love it. I mean, I think that's the challenge. There is no other. So I would love to do that. There's some fascinating feminism happening out of Israel that's like feminism and any other political expression, complex and nuanced through all these identities. There's all sorts of activism coming out of Israel from Palestinian women. And it's just so much work to do. And it's so exciting. So I'm looking forward to working with Muslim women out of Israel and Jewish women out of Israel. Particularly those that are looking at and questioning how Israel defines safety and threat. I'm actually looking at very keen to work with women out of Israel. I feel like a weight's off my shoulder. So this podcast, seriously, is a loss for our witness. I'm just relieved that my 5 isn't out to get me. This is Debra V. Wilson, and I'm in the United Kingdom. Thank you.